Philadelphia. I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday to all across the Delaware Valley. This is the Anthony Gargano Show presented by Rite Aid. All of your scripts, flu shots, Halloween candy, Rite Aid, your neighborhood pharmacy, riteaid.com. All right. Wow, big night, right? We saw the NBA started last night with Celtics and rolling over the Knicks and Wolves Lakers. And so tonight, the Sixers Bucks. We start the season. Play the song. Clap your hands, everybody.
For the backup, 76ers.
Stop your feet, everybody.
No Joel, 76ers. Please.
Oh, my God. Hey, yes, it is the opener. And wow, man, you start off this way, and it just takes the steam out of everything. I mean, in all seriousness, and I love David Murphy had a great column today in the Inquirer. He's going to join us coming up in about 20 minutes, where he talked about the unserious Sixers, and it's hard to reconcile, right? It's hard to disagree with that. When here it is, the opener, and I know it doesn't matter, and the whole thing's about the playoffs, but that's what's wrong with this whole freaking league, is that it's all about the playoffs. Why even have this regular season that's just a circus, a joke? You know, I'm watching the Celtics put up 61 threes last night. 61 threes. I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm sorry. That's not basketball. That's the three-point shooting contest that they have the All-Star game. I mean, come on. So tonight, everybody's geared up for the new Sixers, and I still don't know what happened to Embiid. I don't know what happened. The last we saw him was in France, right? Had a big moment down the stretch against Jokic, and all of a sudden, like, yeah, the swelling and he comes out with, I'm not playing back-to-backs for the rest of my life. And then all of a sudden, he's not playing. It's the opener. It's so ridiculous. It's just it takes the steam out of all of it. That whole league, what happened to it? I just got done yesterday. I really try to, divorce myself of all the negative energy and try not to go back in the day, because that's, nobody wants to hear back in the day, back in our time. Nobody wants to hear that. And I genuinely look forward to this stuff. I love this stuff. And, him not playing is just a damper. Like Paul George, I understand. He hyperextended his knee and he got hurt. It was a legitimate got hurt. What happened to Embiid? He didn't play to get hurt. And the whole Olympic thing is nonsense. We said it before the Olympics. Why are you playing if you're that fragile? If you're that brittle, why even bother? So now it goes to the regular season, and he had no training camp. I don't care about preseason games. Don't play, right? It's like the NFL. You don't need to play. But, man, the opener, you go into it with just backups and Tyrese. It just takes the steam. It takes the joy, the fun out of the season. It might as well be, talk about a soft opening. You can't get more soft than this. The two best players aren't playing. And again, Paul George has a legitimate excuse, but the Embiid thing is just enough. This is what the problem is. And this is, people don't have the gumption anymore, all right? They don't have the patience for it. It's been a long time of the same stuff. Over the weekend, I just saw it, my buddy Booth pointed out to me, Kevin Garnett just obliterated Embiid. Obliterated. He's like, dude, the job calls for 82 games. And this is when Embiid talked about not playing back-to-backs. And Kevin Garnett said, yeah, I'm going to go there. In my day, we played 82 games. That was the goal. You wanted to play every night. If you don't have the motivation, right, to play every night, then the regular season becomes a complete travesty and just one gigantic money grab for the league. Money grab from TV, money grab from fans for arenas. That's all it is, because it's utterly meaningless. Like if you feel like Joe doesn't need to play, you're the Sixers and he doesn't need to play tonight. I mean, what is it? What's the use? It's a statement. It's symbolic. It means something. And fans, God bless their hearts, we've been through a ton of drama over this thing. I love Embiid. I've always defended him. I love his ability. I love his talent. But people are right. You just can't sit. You can't play in the Olympics and then miss the opener. I'm sorry. It's not right. And Kevin Garnett is right. The job is to play. And all the load management, all the questionable, the injury tags every game, it beats you the freak down. It beats you up. It saps the joy and energy from loving these teams. Look, I know people are down on the Flyers and, oh, my God, it was you came home and you lost after the West Coast trip 3-0, and it was quiet. I get it. And last night, with all expectations, I had the same thing. I thought the same thing, right? I was like, hey, man, this is going to be great, right? Flyers, Caps, frozen frenzy. And it was just a dull game. They couldn't get anything going offensively. They're a young team, right? Like that's what this is. This is a rebuild. So, it's hard to reconcile, especially early this season when you're excited and had a couple of good games to start the year. And so it's just organic that you're going to have some sort of, expectations. But the Sixers, this is about winning a title or getting out of the second round. This is about this. I don't know how it goes back to the sports gods that I fear. Like I fear the sports gods. We have not been lucky when it comes to playoffs. We've had extraordinary circumstances hit us. If not for the magic of Nick Foles, we'd still be searching for a Super Bowl. You look around and the sports gods, they'll give it to you for karma's sakes. And there's no better indictment than the Sixers. During the whole process, which I will say over and over again, I'm in favor of. But when you keep the load management, nobody's playing, and you got to wait and see, I don't know. Can you overcome this? Can you overcome when he's going to play, 40 games? And then hope that, everybody stays healthy in the playoffs for a run? That's not enjoyable. Good morning, VG. Violations, Greg Caputo.
Oh, what a splendid morning it is. Happy
not.
NBA
It's
Sixers
not.
Day. I was being facetious.
I know you were.
Let me just say this. I understand the mentality and what Kevin Garnett's saying. But the guy, his last 5 years, he played over 60 games once. And throughout his career, it's not like he was Mr. 82 games his whole career. So, chill with that. That being said, this stinks. This is the most deflating opener, and it's not.
It's symbolic. Is my whole point is that it's symbolic. It saps the energy from you. Like I get it. This game is meaningless, but it's the way the league set it up too, which also fatigues me. You have a meaningless regular season, and it was devalued. The Spurs started it by sitting players, right? Analytics completely destroyed part of the game. The idea about the three, right? relying on the three, which, listen, the math is correct when it comes to the threes. But do you want to sit and watch 61 three-pointers?
No, I don't.
I mean, the Celtics
I did not watch
60, between the Celtics and Knicks, they took 91 threes. 91! Is that entertaining?
No, it's playground basketball. I see that at the gym. All the little kids, all they do is jack threes. And I had taken a coaching mentorship thing with Brett Brown and the Sixers, which was a great thing they ran. But he explained their priority, and I think it's analytics driven. It's 3-pointers, dunks, and foul shots.
Yes.
Zero interest in a 2-point shot anywhere.
At a mid-range game.
Yeah.
No, I mean, listen. That was it. That started out of Houston and was bred in Houston, and that whole philosophy. And I understand it. I mean, numbers back it up, right? Like, numbers will tell you, the math will tell you that the low percentage, right? The reason why you want dunks is it's a high percentage shot, right? Like, you're not going to miss a dunk, but for a blue snow.
Ben Simmons.
Exactly. And then threes worth more than 2. So if you're going to shoot an 18-footer, shoot a 25-footer.
Yeah, I think the Warriors kind of reinforced that too, just draining the rain of threes with the best 3 shooters on the planet.
Right, well, exactly. Like, those guys are rare.
Right.
Even the Celtics now, the Celtics, who have always lived and died by the 3, have had issues. They won it last year, and God bless, right? Because I think Drew Holiday was a big piece of that.
Yep.
But they've had other years where they were good, and they went cold. And you went cold from 3, you're out.
You're out.
It's just, but in the big picture of it, it's not fun.
It's not fun and it's not fair. These games they're not cheap. And people you want to hype your family up and get tickets to the home opener. Like, it's a big deal. It's a lot of people who plan their whole thing. Maybe this is the one game they go to. It's a home opener. You think that's the safe game. You're playing roulette with load management. You think the first game, the home opener, is the safe game. So yeah, you load up, you sell it out, and you find out he's not playing. And it goes back to... And we're not even given a good reason why he's not playing.
Well, that's the thing that's frustrating, right? I don't know. I'm so desensitized by his injury status,
right,
that it doesn't even resonate anymore. It doesn't register anymore. Like, I just see, he's day to day with swelling in his knee.
Is that what it is now? Like, I don't even know what it is now.
Dude, I couldn't even tell you. I lost track.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I see the same thing every time. No, I'm going back into training camp.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. He's going to miss this. He's not going to play the preseason. Nor would I. I wouldn't play in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are, and it's the opener, and his knee still bothers him, right? The knee still, obviously, the knee isn't good. Then why the frig did you play in the Olympics?
Right.
Like, we talk about risk, reward, and load management. Well, then load management says, what are you doing playing in the Olympics?
Yeah, that's a pretty big load.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it's all about winning a championship, hey, look, God bless. If you're healthy and you're spry and you want to play in the Olympics, I'm all for it. Right? I mean, I know what it meant to him playing for Team USA, and I thought that was beautiful. I thought it was beautiful that he was playing on the floor with all those guys. But if that means you can't play to start the season for the fans, right, for this team, just to start it, that's a problem.
And I think what Nick is referencing, it's the plan. Like, how about letting us know? How about letting the people know this is the plan? He's not playing for the first 2 weeks. I mean, what's he ramping up for? Like, people are saying he's ramping up for the playoffs. Like, that's it.
Right. We're starting it's October.
Yeah.
And again, this is less a Sixer problem and more a league problem.
Oh, for sure.
Like, this isn't just, the Sixers. This is the league. The league devalued its own product.
You can't say, if you want to see LeBron play, you can't, with any confidence, buy Sixers-Lakers tickets here. The chances of him playing LeBron, it's a 50-50 toss-up. You can't play in any of the games with the NBA.
Except for the young stars.
Yeah.
That, Anthony Edwards and those guys. You don't know anybody else, any veteran guy, anybody that's over 27. Good luck.
I got better luck on Parks with Baccarat.
Yeah, you just don't know if they're going to be able to play, and that's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And again, when you start a season, And again, if you're the NBA and you have this, then don't friggin' play 82 games and start it at Christmas.
Agree.
Right?
Yeah.
I told them they should start it because they lost Christmas. The NFL put it on the table.
Start New Year's.
And I would start it MLK Day.
MLK Day.
All right. You have it's that Monday.
Oh man, that's a sprint.
Well,
how many games?
Does 60
like 50,
throw
60?
60 whatever 60
right.
some games.
All right.
Right. You can start at that. It's the first week of January, second week of January, right? And you start it all day long. Again, you got to do something to change. I don't know how you put that goes back to the genie in the bottle. I don't know how you put it back in the bottle when you've already devalued it.
There is no way it's going back in the bottle.
Like the fact that Nick Nurse says, "Well, that's the plan."
Yeah. What plan?
And Sixer fans are going, what? Like the playoffs aren't till the spring,
right?
So what? I'm going to see this guy sporadically throughout this. Yeah, he plays once a week, right? Like,
Frazier,
who is he? The Eagles?
Frazier,
like, what's he play? I see Jalen Hurts more than I see Joel Embiid, right? Like, what are you kidding me? At least Jalen Hurts will play on. He plays on a Sunday. He'll play on a Thursday.
He's making bank for it. Like, he gets how much money?
The money.
Per game.
Forget the money.
But I mean, just
like
in the scheme of life, it's wild.
I don't even think about that. If you thought about the money, you've never watched another game in your life, right? You do seriously, because it's so absurd, outlandish. Well, my buddies were talking about last night, like, listen, their backups make $100 million, right? Like, give me a break. But let alone star players, it just goes back to it saps the joy out of the season, out of excitement. Like opening day is a big deal.
Big deal.
It is.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, you got it at home.
It ushers back the whole, it's, here we go.
Yeah.
So if you're not ready for opening day and there's no, and let's face it, I think they built a nice team. I like this team.
They're a contender.
They're a legit contender.
Yeah.
But without him to start it,
I would have an easier time stomaching it if it was on the road, I think. This being a home game, it just really disturbs me. Like,
to me, it's disturbing because it's the opener. Like, I don't care where you're playing it at. It's the opener, and he's not there. And, again, Paul George, I understand.
Yeah.
Like,
we saw that happen.
Exactly.
Last time we saw Embiid, he's running around the court celebrating.
But he may be the most frustrating athlete in the history of our town. I don't even think it's close, to be honest with you. You want to talk about walking agita, all right? That's Embiid, because he's got all that incredible talent, all the talent in the world.
Crazy skilled.
But yet the fragility of it all, it's hard. Man, listen.
It's exhausting.
It is. I'm exhausted.
And the season didn't even
That's
start.
the word. All I wanted to do today was talk basketball. I'm just such a loser, right? All I got in life is sports. My family, got to love them, and sports. Yeah. That's all I really care about. Is what it is. I love the games. I love talking about the game itself and all the beauty of the sport. And like, this is just dreck. It's just and you feel like and listen, I mean, Nick Nurse is a great coach. I love Nick Nurse as a coach. This whole you got to come clean.
I kind of feel bad for him a little bit. Do you?
Somebody's got to come clean and say, "Hey, guys, our doctors say that if he plays more than 40 games, we're in trouble in the spring."
Right.
Right?
Yeah, give it to us straight.
Like, this is the story.
Yes.
All right? This is what we got to do. Because otherwise, hey, look, the league sets it up this way, guys. I don't know what to tell you, but we were trying to win a championship. We're trying to win a championship, and this is all we can do. Right? So he can only play. He's got a finite amount of minutes that he can play for this year. So how we do it sporadically is how we're going to do it. Here's the plan. But you can't go into it with just ambiguity.
No.
Ambiguity.
Yeah.
You walk into ambiguity like, All right, wait a second. Wait, how long is he out for? What's the problem? What's the deal? Like, I know there's a knee issue, but is it that bad? Is it what? You got to have some communication.
Yeah, because, I mean, people deserve it. You can't expect us to come out the building and be all fired up and juiced up for the season.
How do you play this song?
No.
Seriously, how do you play this song where you don't even know when the guy's going to play? Oh, God.
Play Nick Nurse.
The last thing I want to do this morning is be upset. I want to be excited.
I had my Sixers gear all ready to go. My hoodie, my hat yesterday. I was like, I can't wear this today.
God forbid. It is such a curse being a Philadelphia sports fan sometimes.
It's like
it really is.
Through the hourglass. These are the days of Philly fans' lives.
Like, listen, intellectually, the Flyers, it's going to take a couple of years. Like, that's it. But here's what I was hoping for. Like, honestly, I was hoping that their offense would be like they at least keep you excited, putting 3-4 goals a night up type of thing. And I don't care if you lose 7-4.
Yeah.
Right? Like, your blue line's not good. All right. Well, whatever. But like last night they're
disjointed. They look like this is their first time playing together.
So we have a clip here from Nick Nurse talking about Embiid's health, actually, if you want to see it.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up now.
Yeah.
That point, when people hear you guys have a plan, they think of those things like not playing back-to-backs, resting into the middle of the season. But without any kind of setback, and we're saying he's on schedule throughout the preseason, how do we square that he's not ready to just play games? We're just trying to figure out. Because it's not like the regular season opener snuck up on you guys.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to you. Right? He's in practice. He's looking good. He's progressing. He's not quite ready yet. He'll be ready pretty soon.
Is the
I don't know what else to say to you. Okay?
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you.
No, I heard that clip, and
Kyle's great. He's like, it's not like the home opener snuck up on you.
And like Nick Nurse is going, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, he looks great. I mean, you see the videos; he looks fine out there playing.
I just don't even understand it. Because it's not Nick Nurse's call.
Right.
It's not even. I'll be honest with you. It's not even the Sixers' call.
You think it's an Embiid call?
I think it's Embiid's people's call. His agents and everybody else. That because these guys are walking companies because of the compensation. They're walking companies. So all their people make decisions on them. It's that league. It's the league.
I read a NBA prediction thing with radical predictions for the season, and one was the Sixers would be a playing game team.
I mean,
and they may be if he's playing once a week.
Nah, I mean, they're
if he's playing once a week.
Are you kidding me? A playing team. Stop. I can't take it, Frazier.
What churns your stomach the most is like how the season last year ended. It was really poor. The loss to the Knicks was really bad. And fans were upset about that. And then you're going to start a new season, new fresh era with these new guys, this new tool team. And here we are starting the season with no Embiid. It's just like, come on, give the fans a break.
Dude, listen. It just wears you out.
It does.
All right, so David Murphy's coming up. He wrote a great column about this whole situation. Can't wait to talk to David. Shortly, VG.
Oh, man. Rite Aid's got your cure for all your fall allergies. I wish they had a cure for Embiid, whatever's ailing them. But fall allergies are here. They're not going away. Main culprit, ragweed and mold. That's what's going right now. Ragweed is off the charts. So allergic reactions, they start when these allergens, they get into your nose and your body. Your body releases all these histamines, and they cause all these symptoms like runny noses, itchy, watery eyes, wheezing, scratchy throat. So what do? You need some antihistamines, and Rite Aid's got that for you. First of all, the best way to get ahead of this is to sign up for Rite Aid Rewards emails at riteaid.com/rewards to receive email alerts in your area when allergens are high. Then head over to your Rite Aid and you can grab some over-the-counter options. They got those nasal flushes if you like those things. If your symptoms are flaring up like they are for us right now, grab those antihistamines like Claritin, Zyrtec, and Allegra. And you can always use, if they are for you, those corticone nasal steroids like Flonase and Nasacort. Rite Aid's got these, and they got their own options in their own name brand to save you a few bucks. Still not enough relief? Ask a Rite Aid pharmacist if a different type of allergy medication is available for you, maybe a decongestant. And you can always ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for recommendations on ways to get relief during this never-ending allergy season. And you know what's never-ending is the sun. The sun, thankfully, is here, hopefully to stay. And you got to protect those eyes. So I rarely leave the house without sunglasses, and that's why I love our friends over at Shady Rays.
Shady Rays!
They got you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. They're an independent sunglass company offering world-class product, rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. They got durable frames, crystal clear optics.
Dude, look at the graphics. Cool. The sunglasses right there.
Dude, like when you look at the sky, normally it's okay, but then you put the Shady Rays on, it's such a nice color blue. They got all kinds of colors to choose from. You're bound to find a pair to match your style or your team's colors. I love it. Dusk is terrible for me. They help the glare when I'm driving. The sun's low. I find them perfect. So exclusively for our listeners,
Dusk.
Shady Rays.
Are you anti-dusk?
Dusk is like the sun is low.
dusk.
While you're driving, though, the sun is low. And I don't have the cleanest windshield. So the Shady Rays just cut the glare
Are
right
you
out.
more dawn over dusk?
I prefer dawn, yeah.
I'm a duskman.
Dusk.
I like dusk.
Get your Shady Rays. Go they're giving our listeners the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code PHLY for 35% off polarized glasses. And try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 satisfied people. Shady Rays.
VG. Hey, today you got to read this piece in the Inquirer written by David Murphy, who is a great writer. And I'm a big fan of David's for years. He had a great piece on this situation with the Sixers. Let's bring him on. Good morning, Dave.
David.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good morning. Good morning. I just got to warn you guys. So there's like a Murphy's Law of scheduling interviews, and anything that can go down at the exact moment that you're about to go on camera will go down. So, you know, the plumber starts drilling a hole through the wall, and then you go outside and the trash truck arrives. So just be warned. If you hear any weird construction sounds, that's where we're at.
Hey, my brother, you please do not worry. Do not fret. I've had my share. How many times I do the show and all of a sudden my dog starts barking?
Absolutely.
When I was at home.
Oh, the dog is the king. He's at daycare right now, but everything else is going on. We got a lot of stuff going down at Casa Murphy right now. But
love it. I loved your piece, and unserious is a great description. It just is, because the opener is symbolic. And look, we understand Paul George. We watched him hyperextend his knee, so that's what it is. But the Embiid ambiguity of the injury and what the plan is, it just saps everyone's passion for it.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I felt like I needed therapy after sitting through that tortured press conference yesterday by Nick Nurse. I mean, I still feel like I'm in Alice in Wonderland when I think back on it. Like you walk outside and it's sunny and it hasn't rained in 2 months in Philadelphia, and yet your leg is soaking wet. And that's what it was. It was just like, are you like seriously? I mean, it's the first game of the season. They schedule it the same week of October every year. It didn't sneak up on you, as Kyle Neubeck said, and just trying to. It was an interesting back and forth with Nurse, because it was not adversarial at all. I mean, literally, you just had normal people with normal functioning brains asking normal questions that arise when you hear certain things, and then it was like. Everyone's been there. Like at some point when someone's not giving you a straight answer, there's a reason they're not giving you a straight answer. And I just can't for the life of me figure out why, just come out and say whatever it is. If Embiid needs more time and, he thought, usually he needs 4 months and he only got 2 months this year and the Olympics set him back and, he's just going to have to work himself, just say that instead of just this kind of like, well, he's great, he's good to go, but he's just not going and he'll go at some point,
Yeah, you're spot on. He's good to go. He looks great. Like, that's the last thing. Could you imagine if you have tickets to tonight? You're an average Joe fan, and you're taking the kids down to be excited for the Sixers, and you see that quote. He looks great. He's not going tonight. Are you bleeping kidding me?
I mean, look, man, like I'm not. I actually tend to take the organization side a lot of times in instances like these. I mean, a lot of times it's the less information, the better. There's a competitive advantage to kind of keeping things close to the vest. But the thing that these organizations lose sight of at some point is that they are, at a fundamental level, consumer-driven businesses that have a product that they're selling, and they're asking people to spend money for that product. And I'm like, I'm hardly Ralph Nader, like I'm not, I'm all about the wins. But at some point, if you're selling out that first game of the season after spending an entire summer promising that this is the best Sixers team that we've ever had, and they've got the best chances, and it's because of Paul George, it's because of Joel Embiid, and you sold tickets under those pretenses. And look, things happen, knees get hyperextended, whatever. But like, you owe people an explanation. Otherwise, it's like almost fraud, just say it, be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm completely with you. And here's the thing. I don't know what the issue is. And I don't even know if it's the Sixers as much as, these guys now are walking companies, right? And they all have people, they all have their own doctors, and they all have their own, and their agents are heavy-handed. And I know in the past that the agents and that organization, they'll tell the organization, he's not going. He's not playing. And it's almost less, I think it's less a Sixer issue and more of a league issue. The league has devalued the regular season. They have empowered the players to no end. And this is the byproduct of it.
I agree. I mean, my only thing with the Sixers is that at the end of the day, you're the one who's sending Nick Nurse out there to do it. So you're going to kind of have to answer for it, And I'm with you. I heard, as I was waiting in the green room, I heard you saying what you just said about Embiid, and I think that's 100% the reality of the situation. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Kyle Neubeck and I were at practice just trying to kind of talk it out after everything and try to figure out what was actually going on and what kind of the most likely scenario was. And yeah, I mean, that's the only likely scenario where, like, look, Embiid, usually, look, he's a big guy. He's got this knee. He wants to keep his body in the best shape possible to protect that knee. And he's not going to, put himself out there, and his people aren't going to put himself out there until he's 100% certain that he is as good and as prepared to protect that knee while playing, competitive basketball as he can, all of which is understandable. But he needs to understand that he has fans and they pay his salary and people are coming out to watch this team. And especially with the history with the Sixers, I mean, it's just the worst possible way to start a season. Everybody's reaction, even after Paul George, was skepticism. And now everybody's reaction is like validation of the skepticism, And you're starting the season off under, all it would have taken is Embiid to go out there and say everything that we just said. And, I don't understand the need to kind of play this cloak and dagger type of thing. Like, there's no look, if you can't get ready to play in 2 months, there's no shame in that, like, if just take some more time and be honest with people, instead of sending people out there to kind of take bullets for you and kind of meanwhile just disrespecting a fan base and kind of treating them as an afterthought,
That's it in a nutshell. You just nailed it. Disrespecting a fan base. And that's right. And this is where Joel has to, you're spot on, because Nick Nurse, he gave it to, I don't know what else to tell you, right? Like, it was this. Meanwhile, you didn't say anything, Nick. Like, right. What's the problem? Like, what's the issue? And if Joel just comes out and says, hey, I'm not ready. My people tell me, my doctors tell me that I can't go. This is going to be the kind of tentative plan. And then people go, well, why'd you play the Olympics? Well, it was important to me because, I became a citizen and I wanted to play. So, yeah, I understand how it looks, but it meant a lot. So that's why I did it. And how do you argue with that? You go, all right, it is what it is. But at least you have understanding and you're getting it. The problem also is in that league, those players are so babied and so protected that you get nothing out of them, and they couldn't even do it. Like Embiid, could you see Embiid actually having a conversation like this? Nah, you know what? They're telling me I can't go. I'm dying, and I'm sorry. I want to be there. You don't see real like that's being real.
Well, that's like, I mean, I always tell people, when I'm sure you get the same questions, like, what's it like to cover these guys and kind of yada, yada, yada. I always tell them, look, man, like there's some, in the NFL, Major League Baseball, like there's some like normal guys who've had normal upbringings and came up in a normal world and are kind of adjusted to that normal reality we're all living in. But, most of these NBA guys, like you were saying, it's almost no fault of their own because they've literally had handlers since they were 10, 11, 12 years old, and they've been de facto millionaires since they were hit puberty, and they've been stage managed their entire lives, and they've lived in this kind of bubble apart from normal society, and they just don't, it's just a different world, and I think it's hard for them to understand the need to kind of bridge that world at times.
So I was talking to a friend of mine, an agent friend of mine. He was telling me a story about a player a veteran player who was upset with his team because they were referring to him by his number and not his name.
Right.
And was upset and said he's leaving camp. And so this is how he leaves camp. He leaves camp on a private jet. Right? Like the days of everybody flying together commercial, forget it. I get that. That's 80s, 90s. This is I'm out of here. I'm gonna go get my own net jet to take me, I'm gonna go spend $60,000 on a flight that would cost me, $1,000 first class.
Look, I don't let the Sixers completely off the hook either, because you do have, there are more normal organizations out there, and there is a tone that's kind of set where, look, guys are you need to establish some sort of like framework for how people are expected to act and what, and you see the Heat, when people talk about Heat culture, when people talk about the Spurs, I don't know if the Knicks have gotten to that point, but, there is a level of expectation that gets set by the organization, and it just hasn't been set with these guys, from the days of Brett Brown, really. It's been Embiid, Simmons running the show. Doc certainly wasn't the one establishing a framework in that regard. Look at Harden. I actually kind of like the guy, James Harden, but he's just like, he gets up there after that elimination game against the Nets a couple of years ago, and he spends the whole press conference talking about himself and how he's proved the haters wrong, and yada yada. It's just like, these guys are self-centered, and it's a self-centered league, and the economics kind of dictate that teams have to walk on eggshells because they don't want to turn guys away and scare them away. But at some point, you got to be like, look, we're a professional business, we're a professional organization. If us asking you to do this is going to cause you to leave in free agency or whatever, we're going to do things. There's a certain standard, and the Sixers just have always kind of lacked that organizational identity.
You know why?
Why?
There is nobody strong enough.
Well, they got a 5-2 football team now.
What's that?
They got a 5-2 football team now. Everything's gravy down in Washington.
Yeah. But there's no one strong enough within the organization as far as basketball ops, right? Like Pat, you mentioned Heat culture. That's Pat Riley, right?
Right.
And it goes right down to Spoelstra. I remember a story about Jimmy Butler not being happy, and the agent calling Riley. And the agent goes, "Don't call me. Call Spo. It's Spo's in charge, and Spo has my backing." And then he shuts it down. And then Spoelstra shuts it down. There's no strength. There's no one in basketball ops to go, hey, Ben Simmons, beat it. We're not going to do this. This is ridiculous. Your behavior's ridiculous and poor. And Harden, no, we're not going to let you go. go spend 3 days in South Beach or Vegas, right? No, we're not doing that nonsense. There's no one to say that, right? Whereas in Miami or San Antonio with Pop, you had people to do that.
Yeah, and first of all, it's a great point. And I'm thinking back to whatever Riley said about Butler this offseason, where he essentially said, we'll see about an extension. We need you to show up first, essentially. And nobody's ever said from the Sixers anything close to that about a player, in the 7 years that I've been paying attention to them since the process. Now, in their defense, look, players want to come and play in Miami, and so they have a little bit of political capital to say, all right, you want to play for us. These are the rules. And so I think the Sixers would argue in a non-destination city, when you're just trying to beg these guys to come here, you have to act this way. But again, get back to my original point. It's a business, and you have customers, and they aren't paying to watch KJ Martin and Eddie Drummond play in game 1 of the season. And I'll give you a pass. I've given them a pass time and time again for how they've handled the Embiid stuff, and just kind of I got it. Look, that's just the game. That's the NBA. If you're buying a ticket, you're kind of those are the circumstances you're buying them under. But this is the season opener. The guy has played in every season opener since his second year in the league. He at least waits until game 2 to start taking days off. And not only that, but you're trying desperately to get people to forget about how last season ended, which ended exactly how this season is starting. And yet the two guys that you're throwing out there is like the reason to actually buy tickets aren't playing. You can't just treat that as oh, all right, well, your customers are not on a need to know basis in that instance. Like they should know. You should treat them as kind of co-partners, and at least don't treat them like they're dumb.
I'm with you. Hey, while we got you, let's talk about you mentioned a 5-2 football team. Let's look at the 4-2 football team. Where are you at right now with the Birds?
I'm still kind of recalibrating after kind of being Phillies for a couple of weeks, but look,
I know. I think that was tough, Dave. That was tough. That was brutal.
But I'll say this: I think the only honest answer about them is you have to wait and see. I mean, like the defense, for instance, right? We got 2 straight weeks of okay, this team might actually be something, but it's 2 straight weeks against non-functional offenses, essentially. One without a quarterback, one without an offensive line, and some would argue without a quarterback as well. I mean, the last time they faced even a competent NFL offense, they allowed 400 yards to the Bucks. So this week against the Bengals, we got to wait and see. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm actually, it's a fun season in that regard because, I'm interested. Sirianni, look. The guy wins games somehow, and at the end of the day, you can't take that away. The wins matter, and it's funny to watch everyone's brain explode about a team that's 4-2 and starting off this season like they've started off every season under Sirianni, and the guy is at times feels like he's walking on the ledge of sanity, and at times just does things that the adult in the room should not do as an NFL head coach. But then the flip side is they keep winning these games, and I'll tell you what, Ant, I watch a lot of NFL football, and the Eagles are not a poorly coached team. They're not, they do the fundamentals. They don't do stupid stuff the way you see other teams do stupid stuff. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of poorly coached teams in this league. And, my thing with Sirianni is he Andy Reid? No, but it gets a lot worse than him. Trust me. Spend some time watching these teams as close as you watch the Eagles, and there's a lot of bad.
I don't think he's. I'll be honest with you. I don't think he's the biggest issue at all regarding this team. I think you got a couple things. One, the coordinators are professional, right? Like you see that the biggest issue is the quarterback, and the quarterback running the OC's offense the way it needs to be run. The quarterback, I think, is just comfortable running his read option spread offense, And which is now antiquated because defenses have caught up to it. And that's been the biggest crux with this skill guys and that O-line. This offense should be way better than it is, and that's the quarterback has to fight through this thing.
I'm with you 100%. But then the problem with that is there's the quarterback is not the binary that I used to think it is. It's not like either you got your franchise guy or you should be looking for your franchise guy. Like there's you don't want to be stuck with, Bryce Young or Zach Wilson or even like 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, it's Hurts. I'm with you. I mean, Hurts, he looks like a far cry from the guy we saw in the Super Bowl, which was a guy who looked like he could actually be, a guy who wins games for you, like Mahomes and Burrow and stuff like that. But, I think the Eagles are at a point where they're just going to have to make it work with him and figure out a way. And I think the answer is probably, I think he's a guy who can win if he has a great defense, and doesn't have to do too much, and I think that the Eagles just need to work towards that point. But I'm with you. Yeah.
I mean, look at last week, right? That was part and parcel 28-3, and he threw 14 times, and he took four of the 5 sacks were on him.
Yep. Yeah, but I'm with you. I mean, it's definitely
he didn't turn the ball over. Okay, that's good.
But I agree with you. Like the reason the Eagles' offense isn't that unit from the Super Bowl and it isn't the unit that people want to see is the quarterback. He's just not. It takes a great quarterback to have that kind of offense, and he just isn't that. Yeah.
Hey, David, you're one of my favorite writers in town. I find you super creative. Can you we talked about the culture of some teams. Can you give me a word or two to describe the identity or the culture of each of the teams in town? Let's start with the Eagles.
Identity or culture? I would say it's a great question. I mean, when I think of the Eagles culture, I think of Jeff Stoutland first and foremost. I think the stability of their offensive line masks a lot of instability elsewhere. And smart. Look,
I like that. That's a great answer.
They're smart. They're smart. They're very much Joe Banner's kind of legacy. They recognize early on that you build along the lines, particularly the offensive line.
That was Andy.
And even if and as long as you stick to value from a front office perspective, it can make up for a lot of evaluation mistakes. And I think that smart would be smart and stable would be kind of my
smart,
smart and stable, smart and stout,
smart, stout,
stout.
I love
there you
it.
go.
There you
smart
go.
Flyers.
I mean, my buddy Mike Sealski, my colleague Mike Sealski, always uses the word culture, often mockingly when it comes to them. So I think I would go with culture, or a lack thereof. I mean, they've always struck me as a team that needs to accept that the world has changed. And I think they're getting there. It seems like, I mean, when's the last time we had a guy, a guy like this new kid in town? I mean,
I think the new leadership has embraced that. I really do. From Jonesy and Briere to, I just think that Helferty, I think they get it. Like they know that they needed to change, and you see it.
Yep.
I've been very impressed with Briere every time I've watched him talk. I mean, when they first, hired those guys. I mean, look, let's be honest. I mean, Jonesy was the guy making fart jokes on the morning show. I mean, and then Briere's Briere's the former player. So you're just kind of assuming, all right, this is Dan Marino coming back to be the GM of the Dolphins or whatever. And I'll tell you what, everything I've seen out of Briere since then has been like, and I'm kidding with regards to Jonesy. I mean, he has a role, but Briere's like your adult. He talks like a general manager. He makes sense. He talks. Yep. He talks in the parlance that you want to hear out of. He's not Gettleman.
You're spot on. I will say this though, having had serious talks with Jonesy, right, with Keith, he's a smart. He knows.
Yeah, I didn't mean that.
Like, he really does. Like, I mean, not because I'm just giving you, as someone who knows him very well, the dude is really a smart guy. Like
no, I'm with you. But
he
what I'm
diffuses
saying
people that way with his personality.
Right. What I'm saying, just from a 30,000 foot view, kind of like that's your first reaction when
Right. Right.
that's
Yeah.
they're hiring that guy from the morning show, instead of now they're establishing themselves as actually I think up to the job, at least more than I assumed when I just assumed they were kind of like two legacy candidates coming in to kind of make everybody feel good.
No, it's good.
You want to go quick?
Hey, real quick.
We got like a minute.
Phillies.
That's a great one. I think they're struggling for an identity right now a little bit. I mean, Bryce Harper is that's the guy. He's the dude. So I don't know what the adjective would be, but I mean, he's that organization. He's the identity there, and he's the stability, and they got to figure out a way to get him a World Series because man, he deserves it.
Yeah, I'm with you, my brother. So much fun. Always, we could go all day long, man. You're a blast and incredible writer. We go way back, and I love getting you on, buddy. Thank you.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it, guys.
Here he is, David Murphy, Inquirer.
He's a good dude.
He is. He really is.
He's a good hooper too. He's got a good hoop game.
Yeah, he's a really good writer. What I respect. All right, now this portion of the program brought to us by the Bet Park Sportsbook online casino app, and the ambassador. We missed him yesterday. He was taking care of some home life. Let's get the brain back.
Brain. Red, the brain finder.
Hello, Brain.
What's up, man? How are you?
Are you all good in the hood? Well, everything good by you?
I wouldn't go that far, but no, I'm not going to complain. But just some annoying stuff. But you know what? When you bet for a living, you get annoyed a lot with some of your losing bets, right? So it's just par for the course. So, but anyway, I did enjoy watching the NBA last night. Was excited. Got my two least favorite teams playing each other, the Knicks and the Celtics. So I guess I was half happy, half sad. I was surprised that Boston won by a zillion, but whatever. But it was, and then it was cool seeing Bronny
Somebody
and
had the
LeBron.
Knicks yesterday.
Not me.
I'm getting the vibe of the Queen sat him for a day. It was like, you better take a break for a day, Brad. Sit this one out. Get your head right. Get back to it Wednesday.
But Anthony, there was a good day rooting against human achievement. Rudy Gobert did not get his steal. Paid almost 2-1 odds. So that's a.
There was some chatter here at the studio. Like Brady is saying Rudy Gobert under a half a steal. You nailed it.
The math on it's great, VJ. It really is. It's like a 50-50 bet, and it was getting like almost like I think it was $1.70 or something like that. That's what you got to do.
Hey, real quick, because you love
Yes,
the
sir.
games the way I do. I don't know about you, but I did not find that game enjoyable last night between Knicks and Celtics.
Oh, no, it was horrible.
61 threes by Boston, 91 total in the game. I mean, that's just absurd.
Anthony, again, and I will be, people can laugh me out of the building because I know I'm in the minority here, but I cannot, if there was one thing, if I was able to play God for like one day and I got to change one thing in all sports, I really would have to think about it. What would be the one thing I could change? The 3-point shot in the NBA has, when I say destroyed my love of the sport, I can't stand it. And I'll actually go as far to say,
yes, get rid of it.
Back in the day, when we watched it, like when Akeem Olajuwon would be down low and make a move or whatever, to me, the degree of difficulty of that is 1,000 times harder than watching some guy just hit an open 22-footer. And you're getting more points for that. It has made it where I can't stand it. I can't. It just. I wish it wasn't as prevalent as it is. But from a math point of view, Anthony, it's all. Daryl started it. Daryl Morey, he really did. Basically, with all the threes, saying, "Listen, analytically, we're much better off shooting threes than twos." When he was at Houston, the league has copied it, and it's now gone so over the top. It used to be back when we were watching, a 3-pointer was a big deal. Now it's like it used to be like a 3-pointer was like a home run. Now it's like a single.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it.
I'm with you, and it killed the sport. And they'll never do it. They'll never do it, but I would get rid of it tomorrow. I would.
Dude,
I would get rid of it tomorrow. It's ridiculous. It changes the whole game. It's not fun. Like, who cares about watching? Nobody plays defense because you're just going to run up and down the floor and just jack up shots. It's just bad. It's bad.
The only thing and again, you can't do this because I was actually, it's funny, and we didn't talk about this, but I was actually thinking because last night when I'm watching this, I'm like, I can't take this. This is really upsetting watching all these threes. It's like, what could they do? Because you really can't make the 3-point line longer in the sense that, because from the corners, you're going to be out of bounds if you make it much longer. So it's like, yeah, you could make it longer at the arc or other places, but
well, you would have to cut it off, right? So you don't get the corner three anymore. So the only way you could do it is if you did over.
That's a good idea. I didn't
over
think
the
about
circle, right? So and you get it out to 30 feet.
I would love that. I would actually be like, you know what? Because that to me would be like, okay, that is a more difficult shot. That is something that you're not going to make 40% of the time. That is something that you're not going to get extra rewarded on for no reason, as opposed to just. It's like Anthony. When we watch baseball, everyone now throws 95 miles an hour. It didn't used to be that way. These relievers, guys would throw 88. Now everyone comes in, they're throwing 95 to 100. So it's like, and that's why all these strikeouts. The game has changed. But with basketball, with the way the shooting has become, and everyone just does, it's making it. Now, I guess some people enjoy it. I guess a lot of people enjoy it. But to me, the art of basketball when we played, when I was, not that I was a player per se, but like everything was just, it was basketball moves. It was real having to score a real way, not this artificial garbage of just jacking up threes.
Pick and pop. Sorry. I mean, listen, it's just not fun. It's not a good product. And at some point, I don't know. I mean, their marketing is so good that it masks what it is. I guess if you just grow up with the three, you don't know any different.
You know, that's exactly what it is. It's what you know, right? It's like nature versus nurture. This is what you've been grown up with. So people just don't know that most people watching the game are, or a lot of people are in their 20s, their 30s, their teens, and they don't know that it didn't used to be that you would just shoot 53s a game, and that's the way it is. Again, I would encourage people. Again, when I used to watch basketball, watching Kevin McHale, not that I like Kevin McHale, but like make real low post moves and real shots. That was a real beauty to me. That was a degree of basketball that was what I loved watching.
And drive into the bucket from the wing, right? Like, I mean, a fast break that wasn't
everything
that you didn't stop and just fire up a three. Hard.
Watch the Lakers Showtime. You watch the Lakers, and even it's funny, like watching old Magic Johnson. I was just watching on YouTube the other day. That was the most beautiful era of basketball ever. And I'm not trying to sound like that guy that's stuck
that's the problem.
I'm not.
Like, you don't want to sound like that. But sometimes it's right. Sometimes it's true.
Sometimes it's right. Yeah. And just watching people just jack up threes. I would love to know if they did. Maybe they have, Anthony, done a real study on like what fans like. But it's like you said, if they don't know any better, for lack of a better word, this is just what they grew up with. They're like, the three's cool. You're like, I look when my son was playing rec league basketball, all the kids just wanted to jack up. It's a three, cool. You know what I mean? Not knowing whether it's a good shot, a bad shot. They just want to shoot a three because it's cool. So I don't know, but it's to me, it's really hurt the game a lot, and it's gone so far over the top that I think it's just completely changed the sport in ways that I never thought were possible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, spot on. All right, so we got a big night tonight, 6:00. We will convene.
Yeah,
at
can't wait. Oh, is it 6 tonight or 5? 5 or 6?
6 o'clock tonight at Parks Casino. We will do our weekend football preview show. So looking forward to that. You got anything for us tonight?
I do, but Anthony, I want to say something, a good lesson for everyone. And again, I always say this. Look, I know most people watching the show do this recreationally, and that's awesome. That's great. I respect that. I love that. But listen, like, let's say you're a Sixer fan, right? Andy, this was something that happened, and I was speaking to one of my betting partners, I think it was about 36 hours ago. We were talking, we're like, obviously Joel Embiid and Paul George are not playing in this game. The line was sitting Sixers by 3.5. I'm like, when it's announced officially, this line's going to flip 7 points. I go, this is an automatic massive bet. Take Milwaukee right now, and then you can just bet the other side. You can either take both teams getting 3.5 or take $1.40 each way and just make 40 cents on your money for doing absolutely nothing. And that was just being ahead of information that you knew was going to be announced. It was just a formality, right? That they weren't going to do that. So those are things that I always look at, just on a side note. But there's a bunch of stuff I look at.
Great nugget.
It is. I mean, again, you could have made it a lot perfect. Andre Drummond, love over a half steal, Anthony. He went 49 and 32 last year to this over, playing 17 minutes a game. He's going to play, 28 minutes tonight, I'm thinking? This is a bet we should be laying, in my opinion, close to minus 200 in the over. Love Andre Drummond over. Jeremy Grant, Portland Trailblazers, we're going to go under 3.5 assists, Anthony. He was 36 and 18 to this under. Now they have their full complement of players on top of it because Portland was injured last year a bunch. Jeremy Grant usually he averages closer to 2.5 assists. This is priced 1 too high, under 3.5 assists. Zach Edey, Memphis Grizzlies, Anthony. This is more of a field bet. I just think the guy is a dominant big who's going to score. I just feel like that's one thing this guy can do. I think he's a Rookie of the Year favorite for a reason. He's 11.5 points on Parks right now. You don't have to lay any juice. I think he's going to score 16, 17. Forget the 11.5. And to me, this is a screaming bet. Plus no Jaren Jackson. Don't see how he doesn't get there. Brandon Podziemski, Anthony, over Golden State Warriors, over 8.5 points. The guy averaged last year closer to double digits. He went over this 40 out of 75 times. No Klay Thompson. His minutes are going to spike without Klay Thompson. Podziemski to me is going to score closer to 12, 13. I think 8.5. We'll get it like the first day of the year, and then it's going to be gone. And then let me see what I have. I think I had Scoot Henderson over 4.5 assists, Anthony. He averaged his last 20 games of the year 7 assists. 4.5, I just think is too low.
I like it. There you go. As always, Brain, a lot of fun. Tonight, football, baby.
Always. And again, I can't wait. We'll have a great show. I have a lot of stuff for tonight.
Thanks, buddy. There he is, the Brain checking in. We love the Brain. Brought to us by the Bet Park Sportsbook Casino app.
Love it.
Yeah,
I'm looking right now at my Kennesaw State.
How'd you do? Oh, tonight you
last night I hit UTEP again. My second week in a row at UTEP.
Wow.
They won outright last week.
VT's the king of garbage college football.
King of garbage football.
You love it.
Yeah,
you are the king.
I think it's hard to handicap.
Garbage ball.
You are.
Kennesaw State plus 26 tonight against Liberty at home.
All right. Well, there you go. I like it. We talk about the Bet Park Sportsbook online casino app. He told you the Sixers are a dog tonight. The total 225.5. Here's what I like, because you could bet, all the props in the world. How does Maxey not go over 30? That's his over-under. I don't know how he doesn't go over 30. I mean, he's going to take every shot.
He's the only one playing.
Right?
You should have the ball 90% of the time.
I mean, I got to go over Maxey all day long. That would be my play. You could do futures. You could do all the football you want, as he just told you. And then don't forget the casino, because you got live dealer blackjack. He loves the Baccarat VG. He does the
live dealer craps is good.
The craps. He's got all the hottest slots around. So you could watch and wager football and basketball, then double down on fourth down by playing those casino games. In fact, new users, all right, if you're down in the first 24 hours, you get up to $1,000 casino bonus back. That's right. BetParks.com has all the details. You got to be in PA, New Jersey, Ohio, Michigan, Maryland. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yes, and we talk about NBA season and how is it starting? We don't know. But engagement season, we know it started. And I know I can go to Golden Nugget Jewelers. That's where Philly gets engaged, is Golden Nugget Jewelers. Right there, 8th and Chestnut. Yaron is my guy. He's the owner of Golden Nugget Jewelers. I've known Yaron, 25 years. I mean, long time. So make sure you go see him. He's a great dude, man. I've sent scores of guys who are trying to pop the question. He understands budget. He understands taste, right? Fitting it, making sure you get the right ring that's going to make her swoon, right? Perfect time of the year. You got Thanksgiving around the corner. You have Halloween. You got the holidays, which are the best. New Year's, and then Valentine's Day. That's engagement season. Make Golden Nugget Jewelers your destination for engagement season and every other kind of jewelry gift. is right there. GoldenNuggetJewelers.com. It's where Philly gets engaged. All right. This portion of the program is brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. TrueMark.com/PHLY to find out the credit union difference. And joining us, it's a shame because we're talking about the opener, and my main man, who we love, hometown hero, back in his hometown to anchor Sports Center from the First Union.
He's in town?
He is in town.
Oh,
we
man.
love him. He's our man, Kevin Negandhi.
How we doing, guys? How we doing?
Oh, man.
He was on a train last night coming home. We were texting. Right?
Nice.
He's back home. I love that you're going to be doing Sports Center from the court.
Yeah, and VG, we planned this a while back. Obviously, when Paul went down, it was like, okay, all right. So we got 2 of the 3, and then obviously with the news yesterday, it was actually right before I caught the train. We got the Joel Embiid news, and we talked about it as a staff. Hey, do we still want to go? The excitement is a little bit different now, but my bosses were like, "Let's go. Let's. It's opening night. It's on ESPN. We got Wilbon on the show. We got Doris Burke on the show. We've got Daryl Morey's going to join me live during the first block of SportsCenter at 6:00 on the court. So we'll talk a little bit about the season. And as I've said before, and I've said it multiple times, not one single person in April ever remembers what happens in October. So, obviously the letdown of not seeing all 3 of them tonight together is going to be a little bit, but again, big picture wise, if you want to satisfy, I think, the Philadelphia fan base, get ready for the reason why this team is built the way they're built for the spring.
Yeah, I guess the issue is, and we've been talking about this morning, in fairness, and look, I love the fact that you're there. It's the network is carrying the game. It's great. The ambiguity surrounding Embiid is just a problem. Like Nick Thurst was talking yesterday, and he's like, yeah, he looks great in practice. He's just not ready yet. And the fan base is going, what? It's the opening night, man. Like, you gotta take some pity on us, all right? Like, at least let the guy play for 20 minutes. Like, you're gonna kill me. And it's more of a league issue. And these guys are walking companies, and they're directed by their own people. And it just puts a damper on it. Like, you're right. It's about the playoffs, but I mean, opening day is special.
I love Joel, and like you hit it perfectly that this is a league-wide thing. I'm glad we're not the LA Clippers and dealing with Kawhi, and with the knee as well. So, like, this is just how sports are. Like,
I know.
You're watching the postseason, right? Game 3 of games, not for us. Not for the Phillies. They didn't have that problem. They had other problems. But game 3 for many of these teams, they're rolling out a bullpen game, right? We grew up in an era where you're in the playoffs. It's like you go through your whole rotation in the beginning, right? You're not putting things together.
Yeah.
But that in a way that we process things. Look at preseason. You don't see a lot of good stuff in the NFL until literally the first month is in the books. And now you're starting to see teams come out and look much better in October. Things are just different. And I know I'm not making an excuse for anybody because I've heard the same reports that Joel looks great, but we're not him. And to be honest with you, my whole entire viewpoint of this Sixers plan is, where are we health-wise in April and May? If we want to think about June, we've got to be right in April and May, and I'm not entertaining anything else because we've gone through the MVP season. We see what it's like. We've seen the night off in that Spurs game last year with Wembanyama. We saw what happened afterwards. I am completely fine with how everything until April. Now, how do you change things? If you win and you have a deep run, I think people will not be as frustrated, but people are frustrated because I think it's just the carryover of the same old, same old.
Yeah, and listen, you're spot on. I mean, intellectually, you're spot on. I use the word symbolic. And
Yeah.
You know what it's done? It's like it capsulized the whole last decade, right? Like, there's nothing more I wanted to do this morning than come on and go, play the song. Let's go, play the song. And you can't do it. Like, you just go, all right, hey, tip off. But it's a league issue, man. It just is. Like,
and
I don't know what they're going to do, but I guess nothing because they're very solvent.
And the deal, the TV deals are done, right? Like,
yeah.
and the champions have been passed around, right? Now, the other thing is, we're deep into baseball. We're deep into football. Hockey is underway as well. The NBA always viewed it that, hey, we're gonna have like a soft launch and soft opening, and then is Christmas Day, right? Like, so right now it's just, hey, let's get the first 20 games, figure things out, find a way, and all that stuff. Let's hope Paul George is fine. And I'm not worried about Joel. Big picture wise, I think he sees the big picture. We may see him. I'm not making any like predictions, but we may see him with playing under 60 games. But if you're under 60 games and if he's okay in the playoffs, I think any Sixer fan will take that, right? Then playing 70 games, you're not right. We've been through all that, a little slight tear of the meniscus, and now it's like we don't know if he's going to come in the first 4 games of a series. We've been through all that. That is all just, I'm done with all those layers. I'm done with them. Let's just get the freaking April where everything's working. Let's just get there, and put together 4 playoff series. But you know what? I'm still going to find a way to make the energy there because I think we got a guy that is phenomenal that the entire fan base can connect with is Tyrese Maxey right now because he got paid. He's worked his ass off this offseason. I think he's going to be a completely different player. I think that I think Daryl's done a phenomenal job, Daryl Morey, in adding a bunch of pieces to fit under this cap. They've got Gordon, got a handful of other guys. I'm looking forward to seeing.
Listen, I love the roster, the way it's set up. I do. That piece of it is right. And you're right about Maxey. I mean, he's such a treasure to this city. He God bless him. You always got Maxey.
I don't know how he's so optimistic. I like his vibe, Kevin's. I mean, he should be more disappointed than even us. He had a big show planned for the night with everything, and he's smiling and feeling good.
Man, the guy's
put
a
me
pro.
in a mindset where I might put a hat on later today.
He's home. He's home.
Hey,
this is what he loves. Yeah. He loves to be here.
I'm home. I want to take my producer. We're outside the Reading Terminal Market right here, like outside my window. I'm gonna take him there. I'm gonna take him to go get a legit cheesesteak. We're gonna go to Anglo's. I'm gonna make sure he's taken care of. So I'm in a good place.
When you go, and I'll put the order in for you.
Oh, so I want him to go walk around, the terminal market and just see all the things, like because he's been everywhere.
Let me know when you want to go to Angelo's. I'll meet you there, and we'll get it all hooked up.
I'm going for lunch, so I'm going to text you.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm in. I mean, you're here. I'm in. You text me, and I'll meet you, and then we'll go see Danny over at Angelo's.
Let's do it. Can't wait.
Right? We can eat upstairs. All right.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that's done. All right, a couple things. Birds, let's go. Where are you at now? This is a big test. All right, because now you got Burrow and Chase. This isn't, this isn't Watson.
Yeah, T. Higgins
and Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
this is legit.
Big secondary test.
Big secondary test. Also, VG, this is a test for the offense to jump out strong, because that's been the problem, right? Like, let's get some drives in the beginning because Burrow's going to be slinging it from the beginning. So if you suddenly are sputtering and we got to figure out our identity crap that we've been having lingering. If you don't execute in those first couple of drives, you can stare up and you're down 10-0 or 14-0. And suddenly, then you can't really run the football because you've got to kind of pass. And So to me, it's let's make sure the identity is the offensive line. You establish it, you push, and you find a way to score some points in this first quarter to help your defense and then get into a good rhythm. That to me is the biggest test here. How they start this game, because if they fall behind, they're going to be in some trouble because
Yeah.
Joe pull back, man. Joe and Jamar are going to continue to attack.
We saw how that went in Tampa Bay. They fell in the hole and it was trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the quarterback can't check out of some looks. All right. Follow the script, Jalen. Let's go. Embrace it, my man. I feel bad because I'm constantly on him because I feel like this offense should be so much better. And if he just embraces it, I mean, he's got the ability. Like, if he just embraces it and processes quicker, I think, they could be unstoppable.
Holds on to the ball way too long. Just way too long. And a lot of that is just you're not trusting the window. You're not trusting where the route running is. He's waiting to see the receiver open sometimes instead of just, hey, I got to throw it. You got to throw it. I mean, that ball to AJ was fantastic, but you can't just hold on to the football. That half a second is just killer in this league. It is killer. And he's got to let it loose, man. And if you throw a pick or two, you throw a pick or two. You got to let it loose.
You know what's funny? You said that, right? You're spot on. Because I think we made a big deal about the turnovers, right? And so now that's in his head, not turning the ball over. And then people are going, hey, but it's great. He's played clean football. I don't mind an interception. I really don't mind it. If you're making plays down the field, I'll take an interception. I think we got it all backwards here.
We do. As I had my cup on my coffee freaking backwards, the drip. Yeah, you're right. Freaking leave it to the hotel and their bullshit cup. You're 100% right, Ed. You nailed it. Like sometimes it's just too much thinking, and we don't need to think out there. And we always go back to it. 2022, just let Jalen and the offense just let it rip. Don't think. Let's go. Let's just think. Let's just think about the play in the huddle and then just go. And let the defense overreact to something. And it's too much of I've got to be perfect. Don't be perfect, man. We don't want perfect. We want aggressive. We want you to attack, and we want you to be smart about the aggressive approach.
Yep. Hey, I got to ask you about, because this past week was unbelievable. Oh my God, Georgia! Like where?
Yeah.
Oh my! That was an amazing game. I'll be honest with you. I didn't see it coming. I thought Texas. I was all hook 'em horns, and I loved that Arch got in the game. But man, that Georgia team was fantastic.
And you know what this is? You could have all the transfer portal, NIL, and everybody wants to pass. It comes down to one simple thing: the lines dominated. Kirby lit a spark with those dogs, saying, "Hey, you're an underdog. No one wants you. No one believes in you." It was the first time they were an underdog in 49 games. Keep that in mind, right? No one likes you. Everybody's picking Texas. And that Georgia front four defensively looked like the Georgias of the past that we've seen under Kirby. They were so ticked off. Jalen Walker was unbelievable. He played like a guy who was possessed. And what that did was it put Ewers in such a spot that he looked completely shaken. And I think the idea of taking him out was, hey, you need to regroup a little bit. You look completely lost. And I thought Georgia's entire approach was, we are going to punch them in the face with our lines, and we are going to dominate this game. ETN finally looked like the ETN that we saw at Florida. He was running with a physicality and an aggression that we hadn't seen before, those swift cuts. I think in the beginning, you set the tone, you punched them in the face. And Texas, if you looked at who Texas has played, by the way, I was shocked as well. But if you looked at who Texas has played, they hadn't played anybody. Georgia had played a handful of teams that were extremely tough. So Georgia knew what to expect and just took it to them in the beginning, and it changed the entire outcome of the game. And that's kind of very similar to what we need to see from the Eagles early on against the Bengals. You got to punch them in the face. And I think that's the storyline here for Georgia and Beck moving forward. You got to attack first. You got to have those lines dominate, and then you could dictate how the rest of the game is going to be played out. By the way, shout out that Tennessee VG.
Well, I was going to let Rocky Top take over here.
Oh, man.
Go ahead, Rocky Top.
That was insane.
Great game.
Just to understand how insane was it, fellas, for us on ABC from 6:30 to 11:30, a 5-hour window. We didn't have less than 10 million viewers.
Oh, wow. Good on
First
you.
time that's ever happened at a network for a doubleheader of a game since 1996, I think.
Wow.
Like, it showed you that the quality of football that we had in that second. And by the way, the first game was insane, too, with Louisville, Miami. The quality, it was the best triple header, I think, in recent memory. And for us to carry that window with those followers and an audience on linear TV, a minimum of 10 million, regardless from 6:30 to 11:30 all the way through, just shows you the power of college football.
That's outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say, like, Alabama is not Alabama. Even I know this. And he's got to be crazy for taking that job. DeBoer, is that his name? Like, why would you take that job? Other than the money, it's like a no-win situation following Nick Saban.
Nah, dude, are you
it's Alabama.
They're already talking about. I'm reading articles. They're already asking about how much is it to buy him out this year.
No, but you got to take that.
Well,
that's a glam job.
Oh man, no way.
It's Alabama.
There's a no-win situation except for cash.
Well, listen, you take the job because it's Alabama. I think that he just has a different style. Nick said it in the beginning of the season that he had some concerns with the secondary. You've seen it a couple times. You're like, yeah, you saw that definitely in the Vandy game. You saw that in the Georgia game in the second half. You saw that on those deep passes that Tennessee wanted to do the entire game. They kept on trying to go deep because there's some weaknesses in the secondary. I also think it's just a transition. Alabama does some things that, you don't see under Nick. You see emotional mistakes that lead to long penalties, and you see breakdowns late in games.
That's a great point.
Under Nick, because Nick just kept it tight, and those guys just knew, hey, I'd rather figure this out here on the field than go to the sideline.
No, that's a great point. Like Nick wins that game.
Yes.
He does. Like because they held him in check for too long, and Saban wins that game because a couple of the breakdowns don't happen under Saban. I mean, that's just the beauty of having a historically great, one of the greatest coaches in the history of the sport.
And by the way, he's been great on College Game Day. He started out a little stiff, but he's getting funnier and funnier each week.
It's phenomenal. Every time he talks, I literally stop what I'm doing in the room, and then I hear what he has to say because he drops little nuggets.
Yeah.
He's got a great sense of humor. I was in Austin on Friday doing SportsCenter, and we had the chance to catch up, and he's having fun. He loves the environment. I think I was with his wife, Miss Terry, and while they were at a show meeting, and we were all talking about it, and she was like, "We have had so much fun during this entire season." And
oh no, we lost.
They got him. Nick Saban's holding the ball for students that kick field goals for $100,000.
He's the best.
Yeah,
he really is. He's great at it.
The first week they go around asking him to make picks, and he's like, "I apologize to everyone. I've never even thought about a pick without watching any game tape."
Yeah. You know what's amazing is that both Saban and Belichick
are great,
are fantastic.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, and they seem like the biggest curmudgeons.
What those two have in common? Ethnicity. They're both Croatian.
They are?
Yes, my man Marco, right? He went that's impressive to have the two greatest coaches in college and the NFL.
That is pretty cool.
Both from Croatia.
Croats.
That's impressive. It really is.
Yeah. By the way, it would cost Alabama $78 million to buy out.
You're not going to buy. No. By the way, you're not like, you know what? You wouldn't take that job.
No way, man. No way.
He's a good coach.
I'll take 60 mil with far less worries.
You got to grow into a little bit. Listen, they're not far off. They're still a good team. They should have actually. I truly believe this. And I know I like the story of Tennessee, but if Saban's the coach, they win that game because of the breakdown.
They're ranked like 14th right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look. Listen, the schedule's nasty. Like, I mean, they're playing a legit schedule.
You know what? There's nothing. You know what's not in Rocky Top?
What?
Ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top, and ain't no telephone bills. I guess they don't get telephone reception on Rocky Top. I don't know why there's no telephone bills. Oh, we got them back.
Oh, we got them back? Oh, great. Because I was just looking at the schedule. Hey, let me ask you this. I got a couple college stuff for you.
Yes.
Give me your top 5 quarterbacks right now that you love.
Ooh. That's really a good question. Cam Ward's at the top. Are we talking NFL Sundays or right now just in the game?
Let's go NFL Sundays.
Oh, well, Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
I think Sanders makes every throw, and his completion percentage. If he just gets a little protection, I think Shedeur is so freaking good. And
I know my buddy Boo loves him. He's all, and I'm going. You know, I'm throwing every other guy like. I don't know, dude. Milroe. I don't know, dude. Back.
Milroe the last couple of weeks has been a little shaky.
He has. You're right.
Milroe does, and I think the kid's extremely talented, and he'll be a first-round pick. One of the things Milroe has done that I've noticed the last couple of weeks is he waits for the receiver to get open instead of just, hey, you got to just get it there.
Yeah.
Get it there. They will be there. Just get the ball there, right? I think that's very similar to Jalen, where after he had some turnovers, he is now, I've got to make sure I'm protecting, and I got to see it to believe it, right? But Milroe's in the same, if we're talking top 5, I wouldn't put any order, but I would put Ward in there, Milroe in there. I think Beck showed me a lot.
Yeah.
Ewers is interesting. I like Ewers, but I got to see more. If Dylan Gabriel was like 3 inches taller, I think Dylan Gabriel would have already been in the NFL. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that hurts him. So I'd be kind of curious how this all plays out, because you're going to have a team like the Giants. You're going to have a team like the Raiders. Who knows? You're going to have. There could be a team like the Panthers again who have to redraft, who have to get back in the top 3, and you're going to see teams go after Shedeur. I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders do everything they could do.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, that makes a lot of sense. How about the service academies? Because that story is such a great story. And you got Navy Notre Dame this week. I mean, listen, that's a close game.
So, Ed, I did a Heisman show that's going to air tomorrow night. I did it with Tebow and Andre Ware.
Oh, did you really? Oh, good.
Yeah. It's a preview show, and my 2 dark horse guys at the end of the show were the 2 service academies because, like you mentioned, Navy this weekend is at MetLife. And Blake Horvath has 10 rushing touchdowns, 10 passing touchdowns. Navy could throw. That's the surprise, right? And then the other guy, Bryson Daly, has 19 rushing touchdowns, 9 coming in the last 2 games, and he could throw. Army plays Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium next month. And then these 2 teams are on a collision course to potentially meet on, December 6th. In the American Championship with a potential to claim a playoff spot. And here's the thing, and keep an eye on this, VG&M. With, again, NIL, portal, and all that stuff, the 3 programs that benefit the most in this era is Army, Navy, and BYU. Why? Because many of those guys aren't transferring out. You're not bringing in guys. And specifically BYU, which is undefeated right now, you've got 23, 24-year-old guys that have been part of that program for a long time. So you tell me, like, wouldn't you take a 23-year-old on an offensive line against an 18-year-old? And there's cohesion. You have these guys all together. You're not getting like 30 new guys in a roster or 20 guys, and you don't have like a line, and you don't have to re-recruit the kids that you have on campus. Army, Navy, BYU will thrive every single year in this era if they don't have better guidelines.
Why BYU?
Because again, those guys go on missions, they come back, they're bigger, they're not transferring out, a lot of them, because they want to be part of the program of what the Mormon culture is. They're staying there specifically for long periods of time. I mean, I know the quarterback Retzloff is a Jewish guy. He likes to say we're BY Jew. He's incorporating that.
Yeah, I love that story, yeah.
Experience, right? But if you look at where they recruit, they get those guys. Those guys aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Those guys,
that's a great point.
Yep.
Our good friend Vi is there.
Yes, Vi's our guy, but Sataki's done a great job recruiting these kids.
He's a great coach. Yeah.
Part of the culture. Keep an eye on those three programs as NIL changes the landscape of these major programs, losing players, and then you're not able to build within.
You know what fascinates me? I've been wanting to do this doc for a long time. I've pitched it everywhere, and I can't get any traction on it. But to really get into that culture, and BYU's a part of it, but when you look at the warrior culture of American Samoa, the Polynesian culture, Hawaii, and the pipeline from the islands to Hawaii to the mainland USA is so interesting, because those kids are true warriors, right? Like they're about the group. They're not like we talk about the NBA, and the NBA is all me, and that culture is about we.
You are onto something specifically with that culture, because you've seen it succeed at BYU as a pipeline, also at Oregon, also at USC. Those are the three. Because guess what? Hawaii is so close, and then you have a lot of people coming from the Hawaii connection all the way up the coastline, right? And when you bring in a couple of guys, and I think you can relate to this. You're a very proud Italian. When the Italians find a neighborhood, all the Italians move there. When I'm Indian, first generation. I moved to this one neighborhood a few years ago, and I walked around and I looked up, and there were 15 Indian families. When they all move there, right?
Yes.
And comfort space. There's certain Chinatown.
Yes.
You have population, because it's a comfort. It's the same thing with a Polynesian connection, like you mentioned right there. And that you have that pipeline, and you bring up way back in the day, Vi, right? And that connection. And then Vi's the guy that is the poster child. And it's like, wait, one of us made it. I want to go there because I connect with him and his family. Boom. It opens the door. We saw that at USC with a handful of guys. We've seen a little bit of that. Notre Dame tried to do it, but like Oregon has done.
Texas A&M tried it. I know A&M.
Yes.
Yeah, Dallas. There's a Polynesian community in Texas. Man, I'll tell you, it's great. I mean, there's some great games this week. LSU, A&M, Penn State, Wisconsin is really good. I was shocked last week. Indiana, man, took out the woodshed of my boys.
I'm with you, man. Shows you having a seasoned quarterback in Rourke and Signetti coming in with juice, bringing in his guys, understanding.
He's a great coach.
Like, Indiana does some things. Like, I was stunned by that score. They took a 14-0 lead. I was like, all right, Matt's going to settle in. And Indiana's offense was relentless, man. Like, I was blown away. Keep an eye on Indiana, because I think Indiana's got Ohio State and Penn State in November. And this got Nebraska, Ohio State. So there's going to be a lot more developing here. And you brought up LSU, A&M. A&M, a 2.5-point favorite at home with LSU. Nussmeier, he could sling it, man. And he is very, very confident. Elko's done a great job with the A&M defense. I think that's going to be a phenomenal game that's going to actually come down to the final 2 minutes.
I love it. Kev, great stuff, my brother. I'll see you later on.
Can't wait, man. I'm hitting you up, brother. All right.
Sounds good, pal. There he is, the great Kevin Negandhi, Sports Center from the center tonight.
That's great. I mean, it's great that they're here and everything.
Yeah.
He's a great hometown story. I love Kevin.
Yeah, me too. He's fantastic.
Yes.
All right, lots to get to. Let's talk about. Why don't you tell us about some TrueMark, my brother?
Oh, TrueMark credit unions are where it's at. I grew up in a credit union household myself, and we were always way happier than the people with those big banks accounts. So when you join a credit union like TrueMark Financial, you become part owner, which means profits come back to you instead of going to those shareholders. You get better rates, you get lower fees, you get better return on your savings, and a ton of flexible options. And they got all those fancy, websites and apps and everything you need to get going. So TrueMark's got local roots. It's headquartered here in Fort Washington with 24 branches in the Philly area. They serve our community and our people right here at home. And becoming a member of a credit union has so many benefits over being a big customer at a big bank. It's a total no-brainer. Those big banks are just a number. You're not a person. So head over to TrueMark.com/PHLY to learn more or to find a branch near you. That's TrueMark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA.
Oh, I like it. All right, let's talk about Parks Casino. We're going to be there later on. Frazier. And how about it, Andrew? We'll be hanging out there tonight. Sports book. Always doing the show with the brain. Don't forget Parks Casino. When you're looking about things to do and going out, spending your weekend, look at some date night, fellas night, girls night out, you got it. So, you ready?
I like rolling with the boys. Hold on, do a little poker, a little blackjack.
There's a million great food. Yeah. It's fantastic. Street Road exit off at 95 to PA Turnpike. It's so easy to get to. And the poker room and the sports book and the Parks Grill Steakhouse and the Bamboo Noodle House.
Yeah, love me some ramen and noodles.
Right? Do it all up.
And slurp them up.
The Beer Garden, which is tremendous to have all kinds of stuff. And, of course, the shows. The Excite Center is named one of the greatest places for concerts and comedy. Great place to see the country's best comedians and music headliners. In fact, tickets on sale now for these headliners. Tomorrow night, the Return of the Queens, TLC.
Ooh, TLC's coming?
Yep.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Yeah. If you don't have a car and you're walking, oh, yes, son, I'm talking to you. If you live at home in your mama's house, oh, yes, son, I'm talking to you.
Friday night, comedian Michael Blaustein was funny. November 1st, Invincible, tribute to Michael Jackson.
And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shiver, for no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.
November 14th, Ezra, Ray Hart, the lead singers from Sugar Ray, Better Than Ezra, and Tonic joined together for an incredible night.
If you could only see how blue her eyes can be when she says she loves me.
December 23rd, comedian Steve Trevino. December 6th, Patti LaBelle.
Ooh, voulez-vous aller ce soir? Voulez-vous aller voir?
These two are great. I got to tell you, you guys are fat. I look forward to the read every day. ParksCasino.com to buy tickets for all show. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You got to be 21. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, this portion of the program is brought to you by Rite Aid, RiteAid.com for your neighborhood pharmacy locations. Whether you need flu shots and scripts and Halloween candy, Rite Aid is it. Now, it's the 3 days of Devon. And I've been looking forward to this conversation because we're going to talk about the Sixers. And I love Devon's passion, his even-keeledness. He doesn't come at it overly emotional. I mean, sometimes I can be overly emotional. All right? So let's get Devon on to talk about tonight. Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, man. It's here. It's finally here.
And you know what? I'm upset. I'm sorry, man. I can't do it. I was so excited. And, Nick Nurse, well, he looks great, but he's not ready yet. This whole thing, listen, I don't mind if you don't play in games 2 through 6, But, come on, get it started the right way.
Yeah, and look, it really doesn't mean much for the opener because it's just the first game. But you're right. You're at home.
Symbolic.
Exactly. You're at home. The symbolic nature of it all. We were talking about it yesterday that fans pay to see this. Even if you can't pay to see it, you're probably sitting at home with your Sixers apparel on, and you want to see your favorite player out there on the floor, even if he does not play against Toronto or Indiana later on in the week. You want to see him suit up in this nationally televised game to kick things off, which is one of the more highly anticipated seasons. I mean, you were just talking to Kev, and they're doing Sports Center from the arena. It's big. It's huge. So, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I'm disappointed that he's not playing because I did, especially after the guys saw him at practice on Monday, and they felt like, you know what? Go through 30, 40 minutes of an individual workout, go through it with the coaches and run through some things with Paul George, some Tyrese Maxey, pick and rolls, the bounce pass into his pocket so he can get that jump shot off. He's going to be ready to play. He's going to wear a brace. He's going to be ready to go. So it is disappointing. The message should have been better. We've been over this for years and years and years.
Well, that's the other thing.
That part, it gets frustrating.
I mean, that's the other thing. Like you said it. We've been through it year and year and year. Listen, if he just comes out and goes, hey, we're just not on schedule. All right, I missed it. We're not. Doctors tell me I'm not ready, and I missed my window, and this is what it is. And then somebody says, well, you played in the Olympics, and his retort is, well, listen, it really meant a lot to me becoming a citizen and playing for Team USA, and it really meant it was an accomplishment that I wanted to have in my life. What are you going to say to that? You can't say anything to that. So at least you address it. Like, that's been the issue, is like the ambiguity of it all is what is so frustrating. And because it's been this whole time here, ever since he got here, from the beginning injury, from the foot, like through every other body part.
And people accepted that part because there was nothing you can do. There was no history of a bad foot, a bad knee. He had the back issue at Kansas, which shut him down. But the prospect of him being a top pick and a franchise changer, which he eventually turned out to be, now it's 7 years later of playoff appearances, no advancement past the second round, ton of disappointment, excuses. People didn't want him to play in the Olympics. I did, because as you pointed out, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. He got through it. Seemed like he was good. We see him at training camp. He looks fine. He tells everyone he lost the weight. And then the message is whatever it takes. Now, that is part of it too, Ant. Whatever it takes, of taking some time off, not just the back-to-backs, but some other games. It's just unfortunate that it is the opener with Tyrese Maxey, already knowing that Paul George is going to be out. Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, tip-off against Giannis and the Bucks. You wanted to see it. Let
me ask you, what do you think of what KG had to say? Because KG lit into him, and KG lit into the climate today and said, yo, man, the description is for 80, job description is 82 games. I don't want to hear it.
He didn't always play all 82 either. So, Kevin, I'm not the biggest Kevin Garnett guy. So, but my job is to be honest. And he was a great player, Hall of Famer, and he did help win a championship. He changed things in Boston to help win a championship. The job description is 82 games. This guy's a little bit different when it comes to his body. So he physically may not be able to play 82 games for the Philadelphia 76ers and be at his best. So I think it's a little misguided from Kevin Garnett's part. That's the problem with sometimes when they don't pay enough attention to everything that's going on, when they swoop in with an opinion. And he can have an opinion as a former player, but I hope that he's watching enough, or at least getting some enough information background to know exactly where he's coming from to give this educated opinion on Joel Embiid and the job description of 82. We know that. There are a lot of guys that don't play 82. Joel Embiid is not the only one that does not play 82. So if he comes down on some others who don't play their 82, like Kawhi Leonard and a few other players that are out there as well, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, even over the last couple of years, probably give him a pass because he's 40 years old doing something that nobody's ever done. But I think it's a little misguided. He doesn't have enough information for the 82. For us, we're just like, look, if you can get the 65, 68, that's great. He's talking to all 82. It's not possible for the knees that Joel Embiid had.
I mean,
It's not possible.
listen, yeah, I don't take that literal, right? Like, I just take it.
I take it literal because I don't think he's done enough research to understand exactly what he's
I took it more like, hey, man, you need to be there for certain milestones, like the opener, or, you got to give me more than just sporadic. Now, we know the real thing. We've lived with him, so we know where his body's at, and that's just, he's just a, built. It's like the curse. God gives you all the great talent, but you're fragile, right? Like there's a fragility to it all. So it's just an odd kind of situation. Let me ask you though, because you mentioned Kawhi and you see these players, and do you believe in the regular season issue? Do you believe in the idea that players, like these teams have no power, like their players run the show, like they have their own doctors, their agents handle all that stuff. Like when Joe's going through a sickness, it's the agent's handler that's giving him medicine every day, right? Like the teams are almost separate from these players.
Yeah, and that's the tough part. That's where today's sports is, not just in the NBA, but all the other professional sports as well. You can even go to college, as you and Kevin were just talking about that a little bit, for how things have changed there. So you're absolutely right. They are at the wait and call on what the player and maybe their representation has to say of how they're going to go about that particular game, that particular week, and things of that nature, how many minutes they may play, what they're putting into their body. And it is a tough part overall. But I am of the belief that some players, though, will push that stuff aside and say, no, I am going to listen to the doctor and listen to the team and the physician of how we're going to go about our business here and get it done, because they are team first, team oriented. I'm not saying that Joel Embiid is not, because he probably should miss this first part of the week if he's not geared up for the ramp up to start off. The issue, of course, as you alluded to start this off, was the milestone of the first game, the kickoff to 24-25 campaign. So I do think there is some disconnect there a lot of times with what you just laid out. And I hope that does not get in the way of a successful run for the Sixers this season, because in order for them to get it done, he has to be able to play in a decent amount of games. He's going to have to fight through it sometimes to get out there on the floor. And I do think he would, depending on if the pain tolerance is there. When we saw him play against the New York Knicks in that series where he probably shouldn't have been out there. If that was a regular season week or 2 weeks, he probably would not have played in all 6 of those games. He probably would have had to miss a game or 2 during, or maybe even 3 during that stretch. So I hope there's no disconnect as we get ready for this.
I know. I you know what? I just feel sometimes I feel bad for the fan base, right? Because they've been through it. I mean, we've been through it, right? The disappointments, the whole thing. And he's such a gifted player. You know how much I've always loved him. It's just, it's the same story every year. And
that's why I felt bad yesterday. It was the fan base. Again, the money that they pay for the tickets, the anticipation of it all, going through it for all of these years. They've made the playoffs since 17-18, I believe. I was looking at it the other day. They made the playoffs since 2017, 2018. And year one, all right, they get to the second round, great. Their next turn is going to be the Eastern Conference Finals next season, and then the following season, and then the following season. And it has not progressed past that. And that's the frustrating part, where you invested not just these past 7 or 8 years, all of their lives, and they do this rebuild where fan base is split, but you all want the same thing. The end game is the same. You want a great team out there to compete every year, to give you an opportunity to win a championship. They get to that point, and year after year after year, the disappointment continues to build up. So you understand when the fan base does say, I don't care about the regular season anymore. And you know I'm first to preach. Stop trying to fast forward through 82 games. It's fun. The 6 months, it's a fun time. The 7 months is a fun time. Enjoy it. Stop trying to push the fast forward button, because you're going to miss out on a 70-point performance. You're going to miss out on 44 points from Tyrese Maxey, where he elevates himself into an all-star and the all-NBA conversation. You're going to miss out on all of those great things that happen throughout a regular season. But you can kind of understand where, you know what, I don't care about any of this because the playoffs is what matters, and I continue to have this disappointment at the end of it. And that's where I feel bad for the fan base. The money spent, the dedication, all of it, for it just to lead to the same thing at the end of the year.
It seems like, I feel like it seems like it's like old heads like us are like, oh, the regular season doesn't mean anything. But don't you feel like the league is kind of sending this message when this happens constantly, that these regular season games are kind of meaningless with all this load management and games off?
The league, no. Teams, yes. Because the league, of course, they want them to play. Going back to the Greg Popovich days when he would rest Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili on these nationally televised nights, and then they started to crack down on it. It became a rule. And even something here where they've tried to take away VG a certain amount of back-to-backs during the year. So when it comes to a team playing on a nationally televised game, that they're not sitting their star players. So, yeah, but again, that's also goes back to the part of where Anthony is, of the players having a big part of it. But then when these analytics and this load management and all that stuff does come into play, that's where it takes away from, hey, man, I just want to see these guys play basketball. I want them to be healthy in order to play basketball and watch them that particular night. But can they just go out there and play basketball where we're not worried about all of this other stuff and get out there? Is it because of the offseason training where it's now around the clock? They may take a week or two off in the offseason and they get right back at it. It's a little bit different from years past. But the league itself, they want it to be an every game thing. They understand that it's probably going to be a game or two. It's the teams now with this new analytics in their athletic department, their health, the doctors and such that are looking at things and saying, you know what, we probably need to give this guy a particular night off or here and there. And it does pull at you a little bit.
Yeah, that word, man. I just hate that word. It's
Which word?
the analytics. Oh, God. I was talking about it. I was around on it. Like, I was so excited for the opener of last night. And I'm watching Knicks Celtics, and I'm watching them jack up 91 threes. And I just go, this is just garbage. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I know Boston shoots a lot of threes. That's what they do. But, like, 61? And listen, they hit almost half of them, right? So, whatever. God bless. It's just not basketball. It's a all-star. It's a three-point shooting contest. I hate to be that guy, but I'm watching it. I'm going, God forbid every possession is pick and pop or just jack up threes, three.
I don't mind the volume and the change because we know change happens. So I don't mind the volume, but to your point, Boston makes a lot. They're able to do that. It's when another team tries to emulate the same thing when they're just simply not good enough to take that many shots.
I mean, the Lakers shot 5 for 30 and somehow won.
I know. It was amazing.
But I'll ask you though, forget about, listen, God bless you, because you roll easily. I don't think that's great like just from an optics. Like, I get that's the league and it's been the league, right? So I'm not giving you, oh my God, I wish it was back in the day. I'm really not. But watching that kind of volume, 91 threes, is not enjoyable.
No, it's not. And even last night with that one, because it got away from New York so quickly where it just didn't matter anymore. So now you're watching a game that you're not all that interested in, and they're just firing up threes at this point. And I still like a fast break where it's 3-on-2 and you don't run to the 3-point line. I like filling the lane and you drop off for a layup on the left or the right, or a trail man comes right behind you and you get a layup. I still like that too. And I still like that a lot. That's really good basketball.
The ball moves. I want to see the ball move.
Yeah, it does.
I mean,
like
the game
that.
is beautiful. The
Yes,
game's
it
a
is.
beautiful game. And I'm just talking about aesthetics. The game's beautiful.
I know. I still like all of that too. I like a nice pick and roll. I like when the ball just pops around the perimeter and you find an easy one. Boston did it last night. The ball was moving around. Jason Tatum, who had it rolling early, had the ball on the right wing. Jaylen Brown snuck underneath the basket. and he bullet passed one right to him because the ball was moving. The Knicks defense was a little scattered, and he found Jaylen Brown under the basket. That's basketball. That's ball movement, and it did not result in a three-pointer, to your point. And I think because of how things played out this way that it did last night and the way that they are able to move the ball, they are one team that can fire off so many threes. We know about Golden State. That was beautiful basketball in their heyday when they were winning those championships. And San Antonio at that time with Duncan and the rest of those Hall of Famers winning those championships. But you're right. I mean, it has gotten out of hand. I do like the volume of threes in today's game because they are such good shooters, a good amount of them. So I'm a little bit different than you, to your point, but I understand the frustration as someone who just loves the game of basketball and want to see it played still that way with the implementation of extra three-pointers.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't shoot the three, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't need to see 100 of them in a game.
Right.
Hey, Don, I kind of feel like we'll be lucky if together this team as a unit plays 35, 40 games. Is that enough for you to get, do you think, with all these new pieces for chemistry going into the postseason?
35 is an interesting number. I would probably go more in the 40s, closer to 50, just because I don't think Paul George is going to miss as many as Joel Embiid. And to what you're saying, they're going to win.
They might just load management. One might play.
Yeah, they're going to miss each other from time to time. Yeah, but as you say that, part of the reason why it's important for them to is because of the postseason and to have that camaraderie, something that Joel Embiid did talk about at the end of the year, that they need to have that camaraderie. So in order for that to happen, VG, they're going to have to play a good volume of games to make sure that they do have that together, especially those three, because we know they're going to be the hub. Everything's going to run through those three. You'll have your role player do their part in the postseason, but for the most part, it's going to be those three. It's going to be those three all-stars that are going to guide you to where you need to get to in the spring, and they're going to have to play more than 35. They're going to have to play that 40 or so games to make sure that happens against good teams, against bad teams, get some practice time in there as well. So it's an interesting number, and you might be on the right number than me saying 40 and even trying to get closer to 50, but that's a problem in and of itself for us to calculate a number like that to start things off right.
The whole thing, the way it's the problem that's there that we all have talked about at length, ad nauseum, is just how the regular season is devalued. And the fact that the league tips off and we're all, hey, it's great, it's back, and we can find enjoyment night in, night out until the spring starts. But as far as who wins and what matters, it doesn't matter until April. And that's a huge problem, that this is all one gigantic preseason.
It is a long preseason, 6-7 month preseason, especially for the playoff teams.
For Philadelphia, right? For a team that, I hate to fast forward through a season and go, like I would do with the Eagles all the time, and say, stop, forget about the Super Bowl. Like, enjoy the season, right? Enjoy that journey. And football's different because there's only 17 games.
Right.
But, like, to sit here and say, hey, enjoy the regular season, I can't say that. I mean, it doesn't – you can't even figure out what's going to happen until April, and it's all about getting out of the second round. It
is, but I would say enjoy Tyrese Maxey. He's going to play 75 of those games. Enjoy the rest of the depth that they have.
Yes.
Because they're going to be important as much as we talk about the three players, including Tyrese Maxey, in the postseason. You have a deep roster. That enjoyment was there before any of this information. When everything went down beginning in July, the enjoyment started. And now we have some things that are putting you a bit on pause. The frustration is there already before they even tip off for the first season. But you do have Tyrese Maxey that you can build off of, that you saw what he did.
He's a gift. I mean,
you can go with him as that gift, and then that depth that they have. And then with it, is there something that is found within that frustration of these first few months, an extended preseason for this basketball team, that now has you and others looking at, hey, do they have to do this particular thing at the trade deadline? And then once that does happen, if it does, and you add that particular player, now it's the gear up of how do you implement this player into all of this? Because when it does get to April, as you pointed out, now it's go time. So find those other things that keep you interested. Find those other storylines within the season. Find how you can look at the rest of the Eastern Conference and figure out a way for the Sixers to stay within that top 4, top 5 if Embiid or George are missing some of those games and Maxey is still carrying you a little bit into another all-star berth for him, where you find those other storylines within. That's what I would say to everybody else out there.
It's a great answer. By the way, thanks to our diehards. You guys are the best. Support us here at PHLY, all the stuff we do on our show, on the Sixers show with Devon, the whole thing. Thanks, guys. Hey,
and make sure you go sign up for our new $48 sign up for the first year. Make sure you go sign up for that.
You're right. We love you. Hey, let's talk big picture for 1 second, and then I'll leave you alone. This has nothing to do with basketball. This is really about basketball, baseball, and hockey. The idea of the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. And versus the regular season. Have we gone, just in theory, as sports fans, have the leagues gone too far into the playoff situation where it just, it affects the way the regular season views? Because truthfully, football is the only sport where it glues you in. You're glued in every week. It goes. It's equally weighted.
Yeah, and that's where the conversation goes to. Also, Ant, where do you knock down a few games off the regular season schedule because it is too long? The same thing in the NHL. The same thing for Major League Baseball. Do you knock a few games off because the regular season does have less importance than it used to, and the playoffs is what it's all about? And the teams that are bad are so bad that no one cares about the Washington Wizards or the Portland Trail Blazers along that run because they are so bad. And the NFL is the only one because they're a shortened season and they have to, everything matters in the National Football League. So I agree with you. I agree with you where the leagues do
I'm
do
looking
that.
at baseball, right?
They do a good job of pushing it to try to keep your interest level there.
Right. Like I'm looking at baseball. Baseball's awesome in the playoffs. It's great. So I get why you extend the playoffs, but it's also antithetical to having 162 games. Like the whole point of baseball was you play this volume to eliminate everybody but 2 to 4 teams, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, that's what it was for.
Yep.
Now you have a World Series where it's Yankees, Dodgers, and the nation will have a lot of noise. But if we're going to be honest, who in Philadelphia is going to watch that except for baseball fans like us?
No, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, look, we watch as much as we do, and sometimes we check out on any given night because there are so many in Major League Baseball. You just do because there are a lot. Now, the NBA, I can't, you can't, because we have to talk about it every day the way that we do. Baseball is a little bit different because there are so many during the week. And in this case, we have to tune in the way that we have to tune in because there's so many things that happen, including the injuries. Now we can talk about why they should be out there playing, why they shouldn't have load managed that night. There's so much to it, and I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. Interesting. We love you, buddy. 3 days of Devon is great. We loved it.
That was fun.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, Devon, I'm working on an intro for you. I mean, we're thinking about, I have 2 finalists for songs, The Doors or a Tribe Called Quest song. Which one would you prefer me give it a shot with?
Give me a little Tribe.
All right.
Yeah. Nothing against The Doors, but I'm definitely a Tribe.
That's where I was feeling.
Yeah. It's good. I heard a preview of it. It's good. You'll love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. All right, thanks,
Look forward
brother.
to being with you every week, man. Thanks, man.
You're
Thanks,
the best. Enjoy tonight.
You too.
Play
It's
the
gonna
song. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting conversation.
It's like as going back old
Like,
heads. I mean, we're about to go back in the day, but there was Happy Days. I think it was Al who owned the diner. He would just go, "Yep." That's what it feels like going into the start of the season.
I look at it and I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm going to be in because that's what we do. Of
course,
right? Like,
of course.
I'm in.
We seek
And
happiness.
I do agree with Devon when it comes to Tyrese. Like, I love Maxey.
Yeah.
Thank God for Maxey that he carries your interest.
Yeah.
But it's like season starts. Hurry up till April. Well, what the frig? I don't want to fast forward through the holidays.
Nah, man.
What?
Speaking of forwarding, we're going to actually go back. So, gentlemen, buckle up because we're warming up the time machine to go.
We're going back, 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 back. We're going back, 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 back. We're going back, 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 back. Back in the day with Rite Aid. Yeah!
To set the scene a little bit, I'm going to be doing it today since JP's not here. We're going back to 1988. That's right, 1988. On this day, the Dallas Cowboys come to one old veteran stadium to take on the Philadelphia
You and I were
Eagles.
young bucks.
Buddy days? Buddy ball?
Let's set the scene. It's the third quarter. We're going into the fourth. The Dallas Cowboys are up 23-10 on the Birds. And with Randall Cunningham
I remember this game.
at the helm, he finds a way to score 14 points in the fourth quarter
Randall!
to win the game.
Randall!
24-23. Here we go.
Oh, this is awesome.
Randall will be so good.
Games. By week 8, the slow-starting Eagles had carried the living on the edge theme to its extreme, trailing 20-0 at home against the Cowboys.
When you're in a pressure situation, you can either say, wow, this is too hard, or you're going to take that challenge.
Man,
Cunningham back, firing for the end zone. The fire!
That's right, man. That's a great throw.
Cunningham at the shotgun.
Dude, he would have
The
been.
give goes
he would've
inside.
been-
Turning
he was
his way up the middle. Touchdown!
Instant Hall of Fame if he was playing.
He
was shoulder pads. It's so wide.
They hit him on the ground. It's 23-17.
He just
The
looks so
Eagles
sleek,
are one
cool.
touchdown back, and an extra
Look at that
point
throw.
would give them a lead.
Across the middle.
Yeah.
This is the
Not
game
across
right
the
here.
middle. In
It's
between the
4th
safety.
and 5. The ball at the
And the
Cowboys
backer.
15.
On the
26
deep zone.
seconds to go. The Eagles can win it or lose it right here. He fires, completes the pass, and being tackled down at the
Look at
one
that
is
throw,
guaranteed.
dude, it's
The
strong.
clock is ticking.
Randall!
Here we go. Randall. He puts it in the air.
Piece of cake.
Touchdown!
He's an underappreciated athlete.
Dude, you watch those throws? Those throws were in tight windows?
Yes.
That's the Cowboys. That's the legendary Cowboys, too.
Someone should put that game tape on and learn a little from him.
Yeah.
He struggled, man. He never
Man,
really
Randall was so good. He never had a line. Could you imagine Randall Cunningham behind this line and those weapons?
When they tried with Salt and just disaster.
Rod Soul, he was a steroid
Disaster.
That's a
guy. He turned
dynasty
into a
team.
raisin.
Yeah.
Definitely a dynasty team if we had Randall now.
Oh my God, he would have been so much. And he had coaching.
Yeah, he never had an
imagine-
offensive coordinator,
No,
really.
Green coat tight.
Yeah.
Like you want to talk about. You're right. Like seeing that clip. Great choice, Andrew. Great choice. Seeing that clip, man, it makes you wistful for a guy like it. Like
Yeah.
he was wasted.
He was. Yeah, totally underappreciated here.
He was wasted.
Yep.
The coaches wasted him. It's a shit. He had no O-line. GM wasted him.
Crazy talent. And what a punter. Like, he can really boom a ball.
Yeah, he could do everything.
Hey, before we can we just talk about the stats on Fernando Valenzuela, who died
we were
this
just
morning?
talking about. You
I
remember
know.
I saw Fernando Mania clip, and we were talking about him.
Yeah, just the
You know
role,
what? I didn't see any cause of death.
No, I didn't either. The impact he had on the Mexican fans and stuff, but this stat, dude, his first 9 games are so outrageous. It's hard to see. Let me pull it up for you so I can read it to you.
You know what? You know what the thing that he did was during his wind up.
Yeah.
He looked to the sky, so all you
So
saw were the whites of his eyes. Ah, it was fabulous. Wow.
Dude, his first 9 games in 1981, complete 9 innings shutout, 9 innings complete game, 9 innings shutout, 9 innings shutout, 9 innings shutout, 9 inning complete games.
Oh my God.
9 inning shutout. 9 inning shutout. Dude, it's crazy. Complete game. That his first 9 games as a 20-year-old. He in his first 9 games he had an ERA of 0.5, 0.5 in his first 9 games, and he pitched 9 innings in every game.
How does he give him a pitch count?
I don't know if I have a pitch count. Let's see.
I'm curious.
I don't see a pitch count on this
pitches when he threw. He was incredible, man. He had a great slider.
Screwball?
Screwball. He had a sneaky fastball.
Yep.
My man Oscar. He was he loved Fernando.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, that's it. R.I.P.
Yeah, he was a great one.
Fernando Mania. It's a great doc if you're 30 for 30.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it. All right, that's going to do it for us, everybody. Have a great day. Go Sixers. See you tomorrow.
Y'all silly like the mayor.